Hi, we're the Psychic Twins.
I'm Terry.
And I'm Linda. And we're going to talk about the Laci Peterson case today because we did a little bit of work with this case and it's now back in the news. So we wanted to kind of acquaint you a bit with some of our psychic detective work because we've done quite a bit of it over the years. On Christmas Eve of 2002, Laci Peterson was a young woman who disappeared from her house, and it was very mysterious. She was 7.5 months pregnant. Her husband, Scott Peterson, reported her missing from their Modesto, California home. The exact date and cause of Laci's death was never determined. We suspect he strangled her and brought her to a body of water, weighted her body and threw it out of the boat into the water, but it was never exactly proven what happened between the time she left the house and the time she was found in the water.
Now, Scott Peterson on Christmas, he told the police that he had gone out in a boat, he had gone fishing the night before Christmas Eve at the Berkeley Marina, and that was in Richmond, California, not far from where they lived in Modesto. Now, Laci's family and friends and the police did not believe that Scott was guilty at the time, but we did. And when we were approached by a national magazine, a national women's magazine, we told them that we felt that Scott was guilty. As you know, we are psychic detectives who have worked on many cases: murders, cold cases, missing persons cases, TV shows, series, The Unexplained. We cracked the missing boyfriend case of Olivia Newton-John many years ago on the CBS Insider. That turned out to be true. That's on YouTube, by the way. And so shortly after Laci did go missing, we were interviewed by this national women's magazine about her case. Here's the article.
And
we are.
We talked about more than just that, but for a while we talked about the Laci Peterson case and what we thought would happen. This is before they suspected Scott.
Yeah, this is back in December of 2002, and we said in the interview that Laci was in a watery grave and that she and her unborn child would be found in a body of water. This turned out to be true. We also predicted that Scott Peterson was guilty of the murders and that he would be tried and convicted.
A month or two later, after she went missing, a beautiful massage therapist named Amber Fry came forward, and she reported she'd been having this steamy affair with Scott, who had not told her the truth about being married. And Scott had actually lied to her and said he was single and that his wife had gone missing. Now, keep in mind, this was 2 weeks before she actually went missing, so that was sort of a weird thing right there. And Amber Fry agreed to help the police. She actually taped her phone calls to Scott for quite a while in the hopes of getting him to confess to the murder of Laci. They never were actually able to get him to confess on the phone call, but so many other things happened they didn't need a confession. He actually pretended to be in Paris on New Year's Eve, the day of Laci's candlelight vigil in Modesto.
So he was literally at his dead wife's vigil a few blocks from where Amber Fry was, and he was talking to Amber on the phone pretending he was in Paris at a New Year's celebration.
And oh, it's so exciting here, and it's sort of noisy, I can't really hear you, but it's fun, and I've been traveling. And I mean, he's right there at the vigil where people are crying, they're holding up candles, they're giving people flyers to hand out, and he's pretending he's in Europe on a trip. That's a cold-blooded psychopath right there.
Yeah, that sure is. I mean, it doesn't get more cold than that. Now, on April 13th of 2003, the remains of Laci and her baby washed ashore, and they were found just north of the Berkeley Marina.
Oh, that was sad.
Where Peterson had been boating and fishing the day that his wife disappeared. So detectives put a tracker on Peterson's car. I guess they assumed that he was going to make a run for it. At the time, Scott Peterson was in San Diego, and so they chased him all over San Diego, and he led them on this big chase, and they thought he was going to escape across the border to Mexico. Well, they caught him, and they arrested him.
Yeah, Peterson was arrested on April 18th of 2003 near a La Jolla golf course. And he claimed to be meeting his father and brother for a game of golf. His naturally very dark hair was bleach blonde, sort of a yellowish blonde color. His Mercedes was just filled with stuff, camping gear, $15,000 in cash, all kinds of equipment, 12 Viagra tablets.
Why would you need that if you're playing golf?
I don't know. And several changes of clothes. He had 4 cell phones. He had 2 driver's licenses, his own and his brother's.
He had camping gear and tents. And
it was crazy. This guy was definitely on his way to Tijuana.
Yeah, and he was really planning on hiding out in the wilderness. He was going to try to survive and get out of this case.
On April 21st, 2003, Scott Peterson was charged with 2 counts of felony murder, and he pled not guilty.
He hired the high-profile attorney Mark Garagos to represent him in the trial. Now, Peterson's trial started on June 1st, 2004, and it was a huge media circus. I remember watching it.
It was crazy.
It was nuts. I mean, every single newscaster was there. Reporters from all over the world were there.
It was like the OJ case. I mean, that kind of constant 24/7 cameras everywhere in his face. I mean, just outside his house, calling him a baby murderer and horrible things. This was only in 2003, which was like 14 years ago. So this was the beginning of the craziness that surrounds these cases. It had everything. It had sex, intrigue, murder, beautiful therapist, mistress, lies, and
intrigue,
and all kinds of interesting things that make a case blow up like that.
On November 12th, the jury did convict Scott of first-degree murder with special circumstances for killing Laci and second-degree murder for killing the fetus that she carried. The jury returned a verdict of death, and Scott is now sitting on death row in San Quentin prison.
We feel that the motives were money, and he wanted to lead a single life of a bachelor and like a, sort of a Don Juan guy.
He didn't want a child.
Exactly, and the prosecution presented Peterson's affair with Amber Fry and money as motives for the murder, and that's what we feel it was.
That wasn't his first affair, by the way.
No, it wasn't.
He had cheated
a number of
before,
others.
and he had a couple of life insurance policies that were pretty hefty on both of them, so he would have made a killing, literally.
And he did have increasing debt, as it turned out, so that would have helped him out considerably financially. And that desire to be single again, which is a tough one. It's like, why can't you just divorce the woman? For some reason, there's shame, but also when you're dealing with a psychopath, they don't think, oh, this will be a loss to so many people. They just think of themselves and their own needs, and that's what he was, a sociopath. He was a true narcissist, sociopath.
He had
killer.
No conscience at all.
Well, now Scott's lawyers are trying to get the case reopened, which is ridiculous.
That's crazy.
They're claiming there was reason to believe there were burglars in her home at the time, and that were in his neighborhood at the time, the same week as Laci's disappearance.
But usually burglars will not kill the homeowner, and if they do, they don't try to hide the body. It's just they're in and they're out.
Yeah, why would they take a body 100 miles north to a body of water and dump it if they just wanted the money and get out, kill the person and get out? That's usually what happens. So it became increasingly obvious this guy had serious motives other than just a crime of passion. It was very much premeditated.
So what do you think happened?
Yeah, we're not buying the whole there were burglars in the neighborhood. It's kind of like, oh, it was a drug cartel kind of thing that everybody always throws up on the wall, and it rarely holds water. I don't know. What do you think? Please leave your comments below and let us know if you think the case will be reopened and if Scott Peterson will be acquitted of this horrible crime.
Or even retried. Like, is he going to be hauled back into court? Is he going to get off of death row? Is he going to be free? What do you think? So thanks for watching today. Hit like and subscribe to our channel.
And we'll see you in the future.